So here we are in New Orleans at rush hour. I'm in this ginormous Nissan SUV. That's what they had at the last minute at the Enterprise. Heading west on Interstate 10, trying to get to the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. Looks slow going coming back. I have a bit more than 2 hours till they close, so no dilly-dallying.
Continue on North Causeway Boulevard.
Alright, folks, the longest continuous bridge in the world, Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. There's a bridge in China that claims to be longer, but it's not a continuous span, so it doesn't count. It's now 4 o'clock. Should get there about 4:23 or thereabouts. Lake, but it's so big you can't hardly see the other side. I certainly can't see the far side. It's gone. smoothest bridge I've ever been on. Every one of these cracks that goes across here, expansion seams or whatever they're called, is a significant bump that this SUV magnifies. I see the sign that said if there's police, dial a 3-digit code. And I'm thinking, yeah, it happens out here. It's a minimum of 15 miles from the nearest police to, if you're in the middle of the bridge anywhere. It's got to make for some long response times. But they have crossovers every so often. Oh, there is a police car there. How about that? I wonder if they station them along here as a matter of course. God, I can't hold the camera steady. It's too jerky. Wondering, is he going to film this whole thing? No, I'm not. 40 minutes of unchanging scenery. Plus, I don't think my batteries would last that long. I've only got one spare battery. I think it's only probably good for about that long before it would run out of gas. Camera arm a rest. Okay, a mile or so further on, we're getting to a point where the causeway becomes more like a bridge. And that's, I suppose, to allow taller vessels to get through here. I don't know if they put seagoing ships into here or not. I don't know how deep Lake Pontchartrain is either. It could be very shallow. I've never really looked it up. Another crossover. Strong crosswinds. I suppose worse during hurricanes, eh? As I may have mentioned in the train video that preceded this one, that would be the AMTRAK City of New Orleans that got me down here. I was first thinking of just paying a taxi driver to take me across and save the hassle of having to rent a car. But, and they said, oh yeah, we do that all the time. It's $200 round trip. It's like, okay, I guess. And they have to be paid for their time at whatever the rate is, I suppose, but, thinking this is 23 miles across and 23 miles back, and it costs about 60 bucks to take a taxi from where I live to O'Hare Airport, which is, I don't know what it is exactly. It takes about 45 minutes to make the drive, so maybe it's 50 miles or so. So I guess that rate is different than the rate they use here for bridge crossing. So we've got about 16 miles to go according to the GPS. I just programmed the intersection of the highway that the causeway comes to first on the other side of the lake. So that would suggest that we are not quite halfway across this bridge. Okay, about a mile further on, after giving my camera arm just a little bit of a rest, I can just make out a hint of a shore in the distance, which would suggest that you have to get about halfway across this bridge before it just looks like nothing but water. And there's another crossover coming up. Looks like they have tow trucks stationed at each of these crossovers. I don't know if they're manned or not, but they have trucks there. If they have a wreck on these things, it's got to be a real mess. No shoulder. If it's a busy time and all the traffic bunches up, I don't know how they get out here. I suppose they have to let the traffic on the far side of the accident clear out, at least to the next crossover, and then they can backtrack, but it's got to take a while. So job number one is don't get in an accident out here. crossover and another high point in the bridge. This guy's a drawbridge, just to make things even more interesting. And another crossover. Car going the other direction. I just realized this truck in front of me is driving illegally. He's got his rear-facing white spotlights on the back of the cab. I actually see that a lot. People load the thing up and they've got the switch turned on, they don't realize it, they just leave it on. If it was dark, it would be shining in our eyes. Some of those things are pretty bright too. You'd think that they would have figured out a long time ago that the car can't be in forward gear and still have those lights on. Something like that, simple expedient to prevent it from happening. Random thoughts while crossing the causeway. I can see nothing heading south. If I look to the north, I can just barely make out some shore on the horizon, but now we're starting to get to the point of actually seeing the shore on the far side here. Well, they have mileage markers along here, and it's reading 18.5 so far. Not sure exactly where that started, if it was at the beginning of the bridge proper, or only where it started crossing over water. But I think Wikipedia said it's 23 miles across, and I wouldn't have thought it would be 5 miles from here to the shore, or yeah, 5 miles more from here to the shore, which is what it would have to be 23 miles long. 20. Yeah, we'll see. Could be that the distances are deceptive. And the last crossover is just up here. No tow truck there, but the police car parked. We're up to mile 20.5. expansion joints are worse. It's got more of a rhythm now, like a bucking bronco. Just kind of heaves you forward, then heaves you backwards. And the whole car is just going boing, boing, boing on its springs. Kind of overwhelming the shocks, it feels like. I suppose people commute on this every day. .5 miles. That's the 22-mile mark, and it is probably about a mile to the shore. So those distances were visually deceptive. Check out the toll facilities, because toll is charged coming the opposite direction on this bridge. It wasn't clear to me whether it's one of those things where they just fine you if you go through, or if they actually have stop and pay cash booths. If you're in the Illinois tollway area where I'm from, a lot of them don't have cash anymore or credit card. You just have to drive through them if you don't have an iPass transponder in your car, and then you get a ticket mailed to you unless you go online and pay the charge. I suppose they could do something similar here. Okay, that was mile 23.2 we just passed, so it's more than 23 miles. Guy is dragging down here for no apparent reason. Cheering for it to be 24 miles. 23.8. Okay, well, it ran out of probably around 23.9. Okay, looks like they have toll booths with people in them. So, yeah, they've got cash. Now to turn around. Okay, I've turned around. Now I have to just do this squirrely little intersection here. Find a cash lane. So it's like tag cash, tag cash, tag only, tag cash. I'm just gonna pick the easy one. $5 toll for a car that does not have a tag. $3 if you have a tag. That's not bad, really, considering how much bridge there is here. Did you hear me complaining about how bouncy the road was going the other way? This one's a lot worse. You can probably see it. Boing, boing. Jeez. That's awful. I can see the cars in the other lane bouncing too. start tearing this up to fix this. Bouncies. I mean, the road looks like it's in good condition except for this heaving action. I can imagine things would be a mess here when you have to shut one bridge down to route everybody over the crossover to the other side, or however they do that. Glad I'm not driving directly into the sunset. Oh, jeez. I don't know if you can see the car in front of me. He's, of course, compounded with my bouncing. Everybody's just like jumping around on their springs. But I can't hold my camera steady enough to see the other guy doing it. They have a cute local phrase for this. Galloping Gertie or something. That one's been used. Got these things sticking off here every so often. No apparent reason why it's there. I can make out the faint lines of the skyscrapers in downtown New Orleans from here. So I'm close enough to the shore to see that, but nothing else is visible. The water just disappears into the horizon. Get your flat earthers out here. The reason you can't hardly see anything is because the earth is curving away. Unless something is tall, you can't see it. Coming up on mile 16 and a half, heading in this direction. Got our first well, that wasn't a good idea. Zooming in is not making things better. Well, I've got this big honking SUV that I'm renting for all of about 2.5 hours. And it only cost me $50, which is really surprising. I would have expected this to be, you know, a $30 rental at least, because they charge you for a minimum of 1 day. Did I say $30 rental? $80 rental is what I meant. According to the sign, we're only at mile 11. There's a lot of pilings here, or whatever these are called that the bridge sits on. All those had to be sunk. Wow, there's an extra lane here. It's hard to believe. It's the only one of those I've seen on this bridge. It looks new too. Although there was a section back there, ways on the opposite side, where I saw some new, I'm going to call them pilings, even though I'm sure that's the wrong word, on the outer side for a short distance. So maybe they're prepping that side for a similar bypass. Oh, I see. This is counting miles backwards. So all miles start from the New Orleans side. That means we've still got about 10 miles to go. Not my imagination. This whole side of the bridge, the southbound side, is a lot bumpier from one end to the other. I wonder if it's older, like they built one of them and then added the other, like the northbound later on. They might well have. Matter of fact, the railing even has a different design. So yeah, I don't think they built them at the same time. Get good photography on this bridge. before we hit the shore. Mile 0.5, so half a mile to the shore. Okay, that's the end of the bridge. I gotta put some gas in this thing. They gave it to me practically empty from Enterprise.
To I-10 East.
Hopefully this road's going to go better than it did when we saw it go in the other direction. The GPS is predicting a 16-minute traffic delay on my route.
In 1¼ miles, keep right to I-10 East.
So here I am right next to Interstate 10. I just got off of it, and Interstate 10 is right next to where I'm at. And there's the Superdome up there and the Smoothie King Dome, or whatever they call it. So there's AMTRAK trains right down there. That's just about where we came in on the city of New Orleans, which is looking at the same area from a different angle. Got half a mile yet before I get off of this thing and return my rental car.